One of these graded comic books was experimented on, and I wonder if CGC knew which one. Hey there, today I have a CGC unboxing, and in this video I'm going to unpack 15 comic books that were graded by CGC after they were cleaned and pressed by the Comic Doctor. All 15 of these books were submitted under the vintage tier at CGC, which is essentially pre-1975 comics. And while these books were with the Comic Doctor, there was one book in particular that really was kind of an ideal candidate for some experimental services, particularly with cover brightening. I don't want to say whitening, but because the majority of the cover was white, I think that you want to say that maybe the cover was whitened to some degree. But I think just some very, very slight experimental techniques to make the book pop a bit more or make it a bit more vibrant. And I worked with the Comic Doctor on this, where we agreed just to take the most conservative and slightest of measures to perform this technique on this specific book, because we just kind of agreed that if there was any book that kind of was a perfect candidate for this type of service, this would be it. And as soon as I unbox it and show you the book, hopefully you'll agree that it was worth the extra time and effort by the Comic Doctor and his crew to work on the book. With this being a 15-book submission, I want to get right to it. I'm really excited to open up a full set of 15 pre-1975 comics. I really don't get to do this all that often, so I'm super excited, and I want to get right to the unboxing and show you the books. Now, the only thing I will say is that these comics were at CGC during the time period of whatever the latest controversy is in terms of comic book bending. People are calling it Banana Gate or Ben Gate or whatever the latest issue is with CGC. So I will inspect these books specifically for any sort of bending or hopefully no internal damage to the comics. And if I see anything, I'll point it out. I caught a little bit of grief during my last CGC unboxing because I didn't get really angry or upset or focus on whether or not the comics were bended. I think I made the comment that for the most part the books look good to me and kind of left it at that, but I think there is some somewhat justifiable outrage amongst collectors right now, just in terms of how much they can trust CGC and what the process is. So I will definitely take a look and examine each slab and comment on kind of the inner condition of the book, which normally you wouldn't have to do because CGC is supposed to be conserving your books and preserving them within the case and not damaging them once they're inside. So I will take a look at that and make sure I comment on that so that I don't upset anyone, because that is the focus right now, is going through and providing evidence and experimenting with CGC during this time period to make sure that they're not damaging the books. And really there's only one way to find out, and that is to open up this shipment of 15 comics from CGC and see which grades these books received. I did not look at the grades beforehand, so you will see the grade just briefly before I do. In general, I really felt like the condition of these books and the values at the grades that I had assigned the books made it worthwhile to submit to the Comic Doctor and ultimately CGC, and certainly would add additional value if they were able to get a grade bump or two. And now it's finally time to unbox this shipment of comics that were graded by CGC. Okay, here we go. Book number 1 of 15, and it is Frankenstein number 11, also known as Monster of Frankenstein. This is from July of 1974. These comics were acquired across a number of sources. I think Infinity Comics and Mile High Comics are probably the most likely sources for these. And what I ended up doing is, as I picked these comics up and I assessed them, I certainly looked for pressable defects or maybe even just a light clean and press for some of these to get a grade bump or two because they were already in high grade. And so let's hope for a strong start here. Frankenstein, number 11, getting a 9.6 white pages, off to a fantastic start. Wonderful. Really nice. And yes, I will examine the book for any sort of curvature. It looks like everything is aligned as expected inside the inner well. There's no creasing on the spine. Really, really nice, strong, high-grade copy here. 9.6 for this copy of Frankenstein number 11. Really awesome. This is cover art by John Romita. So really happy with how that one turned out. And also to get white pages on that. That's awesome. Next we have Incredible Hulk 107. This is from September of 1968. This one's interesting to me because Iron Man 11, right around the same time frame, also features the Mandarin. So the Mandarin was kind of making the rounds in Incredible Hulk and Iron Man. So lots of really great nostalgic goodness here. And let's see what grade Incredible Hulk 107 got. And it got a 9.0, 12-cent cover art by Maurice Severin and Frank Giacoa. Just interesting perspective. It's an Incredible Hulk book, but you have him flying into the page, fighting against the Mandarin, and again, looking at the inside, the inner well, the book looks straight, the slab looks blemish-free, no scratches or anything like that. This was given in off-white to white pages, but as folks say, when they don't get a 9.8 or 9.6 of this book, it presents very well for a 9.0. But no, the colors on this are really strong, just a really nice high-grade copy of Incredible Hulk on that 12-cent Silver Age cover of Hulk 107. Next is Wonder Woman 207. This is from August to September of 1973. This does feature what is sometimes classified as a bondage cover. A lot of Wonder Woman books of her time unfortunately depict her in that way and put her in situations that end up interesting a certain segment of collectors. I was really after this book for the condition and the value. So let's see what grade Wonder Woman 207 from 1973 got. And it got a 9.4, off-white to white pages. Rick Estrada and Vince Coletta cover and art. And CGC puts bondage cover right there on the label itself. But I do remember picking this one up at Infinity Comics and thought this one was in really great shape and did in fact get the grade bump up. It's crazy to me, obviously I'm going for 9.8s, but really a grade like this, of 9.4 of a book like this in near mint is tremendous. So really nice work on that one. Oh, I forgot, got to make sure I check. I really think we're fine. I may not end up doing this with each book. The book looks perfectly aligned, perfectly straight inside the slab. There's no curvature. There's no bending or color break right in the center of the book or between the staples, I guess. The book looks great. So not really concerned. I do apologize. Just like the submission that I opened couple of weeks ago that I was not outraged at CGC. This looks like just what I would say a typical shipment or submission is for me. Next is Tomb of Dracula number 27. This is from December of 1974. I had been a regular collector of Tomb of Dracula, but specifically picking them up from Mile High Comics. I was getting a lot of really good deals on issues that really didn't feature Blade. Any of the Blade issues were just so outrageously priced, but a lot of the non-keys and kind of filler issues, if you will, or just your sort of everyday Tomb of Dracula books that are still very highly collectible, I was getting good deals. Tomb of Dracula number 27, and it got 9.6 off-white to white pages for this one. Gil Kane and one of the best to ever do it, Tom Palmer, on inks for the cover art on this really awesome issue of Tomb of Dracula. I love this one. It's so dynamic. And again, I'm looking for books that aren't faded, that have like super vibrant colors, that really look like they were printed today. And this definitely is one of those books. And it looks like it just missed the 9.8 as there's just a couple of color breaking ticks on the spine. But again, spine looks really strong, solid. Tiny bit of color loss in the top left corner. But man, what a super strong copy of Tomb of Dracula 27. All right, so far so good. Happy with the grades. Next one is Werewolf by Night, number 12. This is from December 1973. Always loved this cover with the Werewolf by Night in the rear view mirror here. Also great 20-cent cover here. And Werewolf by Night, number 12, got a 9.2 off-white to white. This one's a little bit disappointing just because some of these, while 9.0 is a great grade, 9.2 also a great grade for an early to mid Bronze Age book. The 20-cent covers I love, just kind of missing the mark on value, like trying to get 9.4s and above on those. Still, again, one of the reasons I sent this in, just striking colors, the solid black top portion of the book completely intact, and just checking out to see everything looks good to me. I don't even know where to check. I mean, the book looks completely flat in the case, so I don't see any strange curvature. I do see a color breaking tick right in the middle, and then some issue with the bottom left corner as well that broke color. But as far as kind of the work that the Comic Doctor has done, I'm noticing the color breaking ticks, but other than that, the book looks completely flat and crisp all the way around, edge to edge, front cover and back cover. As I move it back and forth in the light, the front cover and the back cover completely smooth. So really great work. Just I'll check and see if there are greater notes on this one. Still a fun book to have. Werewolf by Night, number 12, looks great next to Tomb of Dracula. Okay, next up is Tales to Astonish, number 83. This is from 1966. Now, I kind of teased when introducing this video that there was a book that was experimented on. This is not that book, but this was going to be a candidate just to help brighten up the cover, as it did appear to have a little bit of like color loss or fading or just some discoloration to the front. And we had a conversation about it. We opted not to perform the lightening technique on this book, but felt like it was in really, really nice condition, a nice high-grade copy and a good candidate for a clean and press. And let's see what grade CGC gave. Tales to Astonish, number 83, and it got a 9.0. God, that's great for a book from 1966. Jack Kirby on cover art for this one. Man, I love seeing these older books that I've collected finally get an official grade put on them. Off-white to white page on these. A lot of these books are getting off-white to white. In fact, Frankenstein 11 so far is the only one that got white pages. But just checking the slab again, book looks completely flat. Very, very presentable copy. Just too much like corner wear. A slight dog ear flap on the top right, unfortunately. Both of the corners on the spine just have a little bit too much wear. I think 9.0 is a very fair and accurate grade for Tales to Astonish 83. Okay, next up we have Swamp Thing, number 11. This is from July or August 1974. This is a 20 center from DC Comics, and there's a few Swamp Thing covers that just get me, that I just love, and this might be my favorite. I do like, of course, the famous Wrightson cover with Swamp Thing right front and center, but this is probably my second favorite. And I've had a number of copies, and I've always wanted to get my best copy worked on and professionally graded. And so here it is, Swamp Thing 11. I got a 9.2. That's a little bit disappointing. Was hoping for a 9.6 on this one, or 9.8. But man, this looks super strong. There's just a slight dog ear, just the tiniest dog ear that broke color on the top right. Man. I just commented how 9.0 was a fair grade on that Tales to Astonish, but this one's disappointing. This one looks a lot better. Everything about the book looks flat, crisp, no sign of any dimpling or waving. This is tough. There is some mark on the back of the book. It almost looks like a pencil mark or something that went across, so maybe that's part of why it got a 9.2. It just feels like this book was a little bit punished too harshly, in my opinion. I still love it. Luis Dominguez on cover art of this. So this will be a fun one to kind of display with more of my fall and Halloween themed books. So really happy to finally get this one slabbed. I still might go through my other copies and see if there'd be another one to take a chance on. But that one gets the 9.2. It did get white pages. Feel like I'm jinxing myself. I say that the books didn't get white pages, but we'll just keep moving forward. And this is Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 3. This is from August of 1968. One of the Jim Steranko Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. books. And I did grab a couple of these at auction from Infinity Comics and thought that they were great candidates to send to the Comic Doctor to have him work on it. I love all of the Marvel Steranko covers that he did. There really aren't that many. And so Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. is kind of a fun series to collect because you can get several Steranko covers if you collect the full run of this series. So let's see, Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., number 3 from 1968, and it got an 8.0, not the grade that I was expecting. Again, kind of looking at the structure of the book, man, this one's tough. It looks really nice, crisp, sharp. I don't know. I do see, again, there's a couple of dog ears in the top right. They do break color, but is that enough to pull the book down to an 8.0? A couple of tiny spine ticks along the spine, but there's one at the bottom that breaks color. So that's a bummer on this one. Was really hoping for something around a 9.0, 9.2 on this one, but it got an 8.0 off-white to white pages. So definitely we'll check out grader notes on that one. CGC should have supplied some notes for that copy of Nick Fury. Okay, and if these are submitted in order, this will be the next Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. book, and this is Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 4. This is from September 1968. If you were kind of playing along at home and guessing which book was experimented on, and you saw me just now show you this book and thought this one would be a worthwhile candidate, you're right. This was the one, and the Comic Doctor ended up spending a little bit of extra time with this one to try and make the cover a little bit more vibrant, whitening the book just slightly. And again, there was a mutual agreement and discussion to work additionally on this book, but not at the extent where we were risking not getting the blue label. We didn't want a conserved grade. We wanted to maintain the blue label, and that's obviously, I'm not hiding the label, so it did get the blue label, so that's great. This, to me, other than issue 1 and maybe the Salvador Dali homage cover, this Nick Fury cover by Steranko is my favorite. I love this one as a companion to the issue of Strange Tales with Nick Fury and Val on the cover. So I'm hoping for at least a 9.2 on this one because my Strange Tales copy got a 9.2 and love to have them at least kind of match up in grade. But don't want to further jinx it. I'm really curious to turn this book around and look at the cover and see how it turned out. But here we go. Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 4. And it got an 8.5. So the two Nick Fury books, something about them, they did come from the same auction. So I don't know what it could be specifically about that auction or about the books themselves. But yeah, this one got the 8.5. Still a great grade, but just not, like I said, I was hoping for a 9.2. And it looks nice. It still looks nice to me. Structurally, the book looks great. It looks fine in the slab. It's not curved. It's not bent. Yeah, they just were really harsh on this one. I think both of the Nick Fury books, not just because they didn't get a 9.0 or above, but just looking at it, there's just not much difference like the 9.2 or 9.4 graded comics. So it's unfortunate that it didn't get it. It did get white pages. So there you go, Comic Doctor, for what it's worth, white pages. But yeah, the book looks great, you know, regardless of the grade. Super nice, centered, presentable copy. I love that the character box, the price boxes, everything's nice in alignment, nothing's cut off. Just a fantastic, awesome collectible and piece of art, frankly, by Steranko with the kind of pop art design. just didn't quite get the grade I was looking for or hoping for on that one. All right, 6 more to go. Next is Supernatural Thrillers number 8, featuring the living mummy on the cover. This is from August 1974. Again, kind of sticking with the theme, Werewolf by Night, Tomb of Dracula, these great Marvel Bronze Age horror books. And Supernatural Thrillers number 8, it got a 9.6. Again, off-white to white pages, but all right, a little bit of a recovery after those 8 and 8.5s on the Nick Fury books. This one, I was not convinced that this was a 9.8 candidate. It does have a little bit of color breaking, corner damage to it, but really felt like the book being miswrapped was actually protecting the spine on this one. Again, book looks straight, flat, not curved, not bent. No creases to the center of the spine between the staples or anything of that nature. Really nice job by the comic doctor. The cover looks super flat, crispy all around. Just looks like a really, really nice, clean copy. This one definitely got the grade bump. Larry Lieber and, once again, Tom Palmer on inks doing the covers for Supernatural Thrillers number 8. Let's cover up that 8.0 with the 9.6. That looks a lot better. Next is Vault of Evil number 6. Definitely a theme with this submission. This is from October 1973. Not one of the more well-known Bronze Age titles, but I love it with that 20-cent cover. And Vault of Evil number 6 got 9.2. And that's what's tough. There's such a drop-off once you get like under 9.4 in terms of value. When you're like looking at a 9.4 that's, potentially $200 or $300, and then everything just starts to drop off rapidly where really not worth grading, let alone getting a clean and press. To me, again, really nice, strong, high-grade copy, very well-centered, no bends, no warping of any kind. Just a little bit of softening of the corner, and unfortunately, it looks like I missed a dog ear that broke color. So those dog ears, that's kind of what I'm learning with this submission is if any of those are breaking color and moving away from the corners, which means that the length of the fold increases as you move away from the edge of the book, from the corner specifically, they just take a punishment. To me, it just seems strange that a book would get punished that much on that if that were the case. I do notice on the back, the staples look a little sunken, or at least the top one does. That certainly could just be originally how the staples were, but I'm just trying to figure out why the book was so heavily scrutinized. And I remember now I'm looking at the spine on this one, not a single spine tick. So absolutely perfect. Really difficult to keep a book from 1973 spine tick free. Next is Swamp Thing 11. I talked about this one earlier. Maybe I did send in my higher grade copy and this one's it. I don't know. I hope so. Love this Dominguez cover art, and actually forgot that I sent 2 copies in, and let's see if this one got above the 9.2. My fingers are crossed. Oh, yes. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so kind of rewinding this video and going back, and I was confused. Like, I knew I had a high-grade copy. This is so strange. Wow, this is, stunning. Super awesome. 9.8 on Swamp Thing 11. I was really hoping at least one book in this submission would get a 9.8, but just tremendous. Thank you, Comic Doctor. Great work on this one. Just one of my favorite Swamp Thing covers. So super awesome, and it got white pages on it too. 9.8 white pages on this one. Oh, super happy. Love it. So we'll put this one right there, front and center. Oh, that's great. 20-cent cover. Okay, maybe doesn't quite make up for the 8 and the 8.5s on the Nick Fury books, but I keep mentioning them. But the grades are what they are, but again, no damage or bending to the books that I can see inside the slab, so I'll keep going. A few more to go. This is Daredevil number 91. This is from September 1972. I thought this book had a lot of potential, particularly around the way the cover art is designed with the all black border-like cover art design on this one. And let's see what grade Daredevil 91 from 1972 got. 8.0. That one's tough. I just had one too many color breaking ticks, I think, in this along the spine. I still think this is a tremendous looking comic. Gil Kane on cover art, 20-cent cover, 8.0, yes. Was hoping for something around a 9. But this is cool. And actually, even though it's a Marvel title, it still kind of keeps the theme of this submission with all of these Bronze Age horror here with the Mr. Fear on the cover. And it's even noted on the slab, Black Widow and Mr. Fear appearance. And also just got off-white pages, not off-white to white. But tremendous Gil Kane cover on that one. Next is Ghost Rider number 6. This is from June 1974. I'd been picking up a number of Ghost Rider books, especially the single-digit issues from the solo series of Ghost Rider. I think technically this is the second volume. It's the first volume featuring Johnny Blaze. But really loved picking up these books, not considered keys. Everyone's kind of after Ghost Rider number 1, and then it just kind of, interest kind of falls off after that one. But let's see, Ghost Rider number 6 from 1974, and it got a 9.2. 9.2 white pages. John Romita on cover art on this one, so that's an absolute plus. But these are tough. It's kind of the same explanation of like that drop-off. Under 9.4, the value drops really fast. Like people are really looking for 9.4 and above on books like this, where you're talking about early to mid 70s, non-keys, and that's where you've got to hit that grade. This is kind of like borderline keeper, borderline valuable. Definitely a lot of value in the grades that these books got, but just not at the level where it would be like a real score or a real haul. This is just kind of like just right on the edge, except for that Swamp Thing 11, which I keep wanting to look at, getting that 9.8, just making sure that that's real. But 9.2 white pages here on Ghost Rider number 6. Really great Johnny Blaze covering a Ghost Rider face and a skull, bike, the flames, the whole deal. So really great cover. Just didn't quite get the grade I was looking for. The last one here, Swamp Thing number 9. This is the cover that I was talking about. This is from March and April of 1974. This is the Bernie Wright. Well, it's the Bernie Wrightson Swamp Thing cover. Swamp Thing number 1, very valuable, but the next one up is Swamp Thing number 9. I picked up a number of these raw from Mile High Comics over the years. Just really found this book to be very attractive and desirable, and you just can't go wrong with a Wrightson cover. So let's see what grade CGC gave it. Swamp Thing number 9 from 1974. Got a 9.6 white pages. I will take that. That's tremendous. Fantastic. No, I just got to check this one out and look at it. 20-cent cover, and why didn't it get a 9.8? The top right corner. Now see, there's some definite, not a dog ear, but just a little bit of an overlap where it broke color in maybe 2 or 3 places. And then maybe one other just tiny tick at the top, and then the spine is completely intact. I would say or argue that it is similar in terms of condition to some of the other books that got somewhere between an 8.5 and a 9.2. And even the bottom right corner has a little bit of wear on it. Other than that, the book looks super nice. Great job, Comic Doctor, on this one. It ended up the 2 Swamp Thing books being kind of the centerpieces of the results of the CGC submission. Really awesome Bronze Age horror-themed books. A couple of the Nick Fury books with the Steranko covers. Did end up being a little disappointed with both of those, but you kind of throw those 2 out. Well, I guess the Daredevil book also got an 8, but that one, I think, condition-wise, I can see why maybe I shouldn't have sent that one in if I were looking to get a 9.0 or above. But the rest of the books, borderline, I think, on the getting that next grade up or being a candidate for a next grade up. Some of them felt like the 9.0s and 9.2s, just being very, very picky. And I always wonder, too, I know it kind of depends on the grader, but if you're also looking at the era of the book, it was my assumption that while I thought that grading was consistent no matter what comic you're looking at. I always thought that maybe Golden and Silver Age books got a little bit of leniency when it comes to very specific defects, but I think a color break is a color break. Color loss, certainly the dog ears on several of those books, I think really hurt the book's chances for getting a higher grade. But overall, I would say I'm happy and satisfied with the submission. I'm certainly happy to get the books back in my possession. And in terms of any bending or waviness or damage with the inner well, these books all look fine to me, very flat. I'm going to continue to send books to CGC. As for me, ultimately, as a collector, it's about acquiring the books and preserving the condition that they're in to make sure that by me storing them or moving them around, they're not damaged any further. And I want to thank the Comic Doctor and his staff for all of their hard work and dedication to working with a number of customers and making sure that all of the orders are processed in a timely manner and helping collectors like me maximize the grade of their comic books. Thanks for watching, happy collecting, and see you next time.